What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today's a little different. As you can see, I'm in a setup. And you might be wondering what's going on. Well, today, before the season starts for the 2024 season, I want to do a tier list projection of my opinion for the professional players. Just straight down the list. I have a tier list set up, and just to shoot off the names, give some reasons why and why players might be up or lower than possible this year, and then maybe do it next year and see how players have changed within a year, and then also who's new, who's out, all that type of stuff. Seems like an interesting idea, and it might be conversational for the comments if you guys totally disagree or agree. And feel free to let me know if you guys like this type of content as well, because I'd be glad to do all types of other tier lists and stuff like that too. For it could be discs or brands or whatever. But this just seems like an easy start, especially since the All-Star week was this past weekend, and now the first tournament starts this Friday, which is exciting. So we're here. This is the just players, the top 70 players for the UDisc rankings for this upcoming season, and it's alphabetical. So I don't know every player just by their face, so it might take some time to figure out exactly who's who. But for the majority of them, I can give a guess. So I'm going to get right into it. There's a lot of players that need to be ranked, and I might walk through and explain some of them. Now, firstly, Aaron Gossage re-signs with Discraft. I think if he can step up his putting, he has a chance to be in the A tier. He's been close to wins for a while, so I'm going to classify him. Last year, I would say he had an A tier season. This year, I'm going to go B tier. Adam Hammes, same thing, Discraft player. I would say that Adam Hammes has been pretty consistent A, B tier, and I would probably go B tier for Adam Hammes as well. Albert Tom took I would say a small step back last year. I personally think he's one of the farthest throwers on tour, and I like him a lot, considering he's just a European guy who's been in the scene for a while. I'm going to say C tier. And C tier isn't bad. It's just considering, I'm going to say S tier is the top, just small amount of players. And then A tier are guys who are probably going to win an event this year or be in the top 3 consistently, top 5, top 10. B tier are guys who are going to jump up and down. And then C tier's less consistent, and D tier's not as consistent. So I wouldn't say, obviously none of these players are bad. They're the top 75 ranked players in the world by UDisc. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go straight into Alden Harris. I think he's going to have a better year than he ever has. He'll be his best year so far. And I'm going to go B tier, and I'm going to go upper B tier for him. Split him there. Not that the order matters, but just throwing him at the upper B tier. I think he could possibly be an A tier player this year. Andrew Marweed, he's the best putter on tour, arguably the best putter, but he wins the putting contest what seems like every year. I'm going to actually, last year I would have put him in B tier, and then I think this year he's going to be a C tier player. So we'll see how the rest of this list continues to go. But Andrew Presnell, I think, is a C tier player. Anthony Barella, A tier player. One of the farthest throwers on tour. His putting has been dialed. He played in the Sharp event last month and was just phenomenal. I think he's going to have a breakout season if he can stay consistent and break the mold of just being top 15, top 20. Last year he was second in a big event, a major, so he could get his first major win this year for sure. Austin Turner, he's bounced around from companies. I think he's going to be D-list. I think Ben Callaway also is falling down. I think he's a D-list player. I am a fan of Brody's game. I think he has a great brand and he's just around the scene. He's good for disc golf. But I think as his time goes, he's not going to be as high of a chance of winning or being in the top 10 or 15. Now, I could be totally wrong here, but I'm going to say he's a D tier player this coming season. I think Calvin Heimberg is the best player in the world, and that's why he was the best player last year. Obviously, S tier player. Casey White, I think, had a down year last year. and I would have to classify him as either low C or top of D. I'm going to go low C for now. Could change. So Chandler Kramer, also a really good player, but he's unsponsored, which is weird. I'm going to throw him in the top of C tier. I'm going to be pretty strict on these rankings, but that's just, I don't know exactly. I think being an open bag is actually better because then you can throw whatever you want, and it allows you to be able to pick exactly what you like. But it just seems a little off how it's like such last second. So I'll be interested to see how it pans out for his season this year, and if he even stays open bag for next year. Chris Clemens goes to Discraft. I personally think Chris Clemens is great. He's been around the scene for a while. I'm going to go bottom of B tier. Chris Dickerson, staple in the sport, absolutely dominant. I think he's going to have a great year this year. I'm going to go A tier. All right, next up, Cole O'Donnell. I think he's going to have a dominant year. I'm going to go upper B tier. I think last year he had a breakout season, and despite him moving companies, he's going to be really good this year. Corey Ellis, also a great year last year. I'm going to go B tier as well. Drew Gibson, he's been hot. He played recently, but he took a lot of time off last year. I think he's a B tier player, but with what I've seen and what I just am predicting, I'm going to go upper C tier for this year. Eagle McMahon, despite the injury aside, I think he's an A tier player. I think he will definitely have a chance to win an event this year. Emerson Keith had a win last year. I personally think switching to Innova isn't going to fare too well because he switched around companies so much that I think he's going to be a D tier player. All right, next up, this guy is Timu Talakanian. He's European. He's not supposed to play in America this year. And usually European players don't tend to fare in the field as well as others. So I'm going to drop him in D tier. Evan Scott did really well last year. I think he'll be a C tier player. Evan Smith, I think, is a D tier player. Ezra is a bottom of B tier player. Ezra Robinson had a phenomenal year last year. I think he takes a big step up, and I'm going to give him a B tier. Garrett Gerthy, I think as time goes, he's getting a little older. I think he's going to be falling back a little bit, in my personal opinion. So he's between end of C tier and D tier, but I'm going to go C tier. I added Eric Oakley in here. Wasn't on the list. He actually had a decent year last year, and considering how long he's been in the scene, I think he's a really good player. Now, with that being said, compared to the entire field, I don't see him going out and really destroying any tournaments. So for that case, I'm going to put him in D tier. Gavin Babcock had a good season last year, started a slightly slow. So I think he's a upper C tier. I think he's a B tier player. If he's on his best game, he's a B tier player, but I'm going to put him in C tier. My boy Grady, I think he has a big chance to take down at least some top 25s this year. Definitely could have a chance to be top 10. He was in the race last year for the Worlds, so I'm going to put him in middle C tier, and hopefully he competes with the B tiers. Greg's Barsby, D tier. Who's this? Who dat? Who the heck is this? Hejlit Jensen, I think is how it's said. Also European. This year he's competing in America. I think he's a D tier player. Gannon Burr, S tier player, no doubt. Bradley Williams had a phenomenal year last year. I just don't think he's going to scale up to what it was last year. I think he's, once again, in between B and C. I'm going to go in the upper C tier. Isaac Robinson, I mean, just a phenomenal player, S tier player. Jakub Semerald, I think, is actually going to have a really good year. My prediction is that he'll be middle C tier. It seems like the C tier is getting clogged up a little bit, but I'm trying to make sure that the tiers are properly set. I think James Conrad takes a slight step back. Now, I still think he's going to be a great player, obviously world champion, but I see him being in the C tier this coming season. James Proctor was, I would say, the surprise of this season. I think his game was phenomenal last year. Will he keep it up? I'm not sure. I'm going to put him in upper C tier. I've said upper C tier a lot, but let's just say C tier. Jeremy Colling, I think, is going to be D tier as time goes. Joel Freeman, I think, has been really consistent, And I see the consistency staying, but I just don't know if he's going to be taking down tournaments. So for that, I'm going to put him in C tier. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Next up, Jesse Nieminen, I think is a D tier player. Joona Hainanen. These European names I'm going to scuff. But I think he's also really good and has a chance to be a C tier player this year. I think last year he was a C tier player. But I'm going to put him in D tier. Joseph Anderson, I think he's going to up and coming. I think he's a C tier player. Kevin Jones, consistently good. Used to be very dominant. I think he's in between C and D these days, but I'm going to go C tier. Has the potential to be a B tier player for sure. Kevin Kiefer, I'm going to go D tier. Kyle Klein, A tier player, obviously won USDGC last year, among other events that he's won. Lauri Littinen, I'm going to go D tier. Luke Taylor is a young guy on the scene. I think he's going to be upper C tier. I think he's going to be really good. Mason Ford has fallen off more lately. I think he's D tier. Matt Bell also think is D tier. Matteo, I think, is a B tier player, but consistently up there with the bests. Obviously won an event last year. Who is that? Who the hell is that? Amari Villman, I think will be D tier. Mikhail Hame, I think also is D tier. Nate Sexton, I think is D tier. As much as I would love to put Nate Sexton in A tier or B tier, I just think he's prioritizing towards the end of his career. Nestori Tukinen, I think he actually has a chance to be a C tier player. I'm going to put him in D tier, but could be really good coming soon. Nico Castro, I think, is between C and D tier. Nicholas Antela, definitely a high B tier, maybe even A tier player. Oyvind Jarns, I think, is a D tier. Parker Welk, even though he won an event last year and has destroyed the Sharp event last month, I think could be a C tier player, but for the sake of the entire season, I'm going to go D tier. Paul Macbeth, A tier player for sure. Paul Ulibarri, D tier. Ricky Wysocki, S tier player, I mean, no doubt. Robert Burridge, I'm going to go B tier. And now we get into the nitty gritty. Raven Newsom, I think, is D tier. Thomas Hayentinen is also D tier. And then Simon Lizotte, I think, is an A tier player for sure. Sullivan Tipton, I think, is a B tier player on the come up. I think he has a chance to just really break out this year. Zach Arlinghouse, I think, is a C tier player, also has a chance to break out. Vino, I think, is a high B tier player, could be an A tier player this year. Temu Lappinen, also going to go D tier. Silver Lot could be pretty good. I'm going to go D tier. And then lastly, Silas Schultz, I think, will be a C tier player and could really do well. He had a great season last year. So keep in mind, this is just right off the cuff what I think of players going into this next season. I think some of them have the chance to even grow after next season to be even better. And then as age continues, some players are just going to digress naturally. And these are just my predictions for the season outcome. So we'll see. I mean, I'm interested to see what is going to pan out and what isn't going to pan out. And also, these are the top 100, top 75 players in the entire world. So, like, match them up against a field of 125, and these are all almost going to be in the top half every time. These guys just destroy. So keep that in mind. But ranking them against the best players in the world, such as Calvin Heinberg and the Gannon Burrs and the Ricky Wysocki's and Paul Macbeths, this is kind of just how I see the season potentially going based on a tier list. So if you like this kind of video, I know it's a little different. I try to make it pretty quick, not too rambling on. But it's just something that before the season started, it seemed like a fun idea to maybe try and then also see how it pans out throughout the entire year with the first event coming at the Florida Open this weekend on Friday. So just a couple days. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments what you guys think and what maybe I have gotten wrong, or maybe just your predictions in general. I'm definitely interested to hear and to see really what happens this year. So yeah, take care and thanks for watching.